Hello and welcome to NewFilmmakers Los Angeles. My name is Danny De Lillo. I'm excited to welcome back the wonderful Scout with her musical digital series, Take One Thing Off. And for those that haven't seen it, here is a clip. Scout, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. Great to be in my own apartment always.
And I know. Yeah, sorry about the traffic.
Yeah.
No, Scout, I loved having you at our film festival. It was extra special because it was part of our Pride event as well, which was brilliant. I just was like, I just couldn't believe you. I was like, you are so talented, and to create this musical digital series that I know a lot of work went into creating and making it happen. I was just like, wow. But, firstly, as a performer, this is an element in which your hope is going to be brilliant, but yours was just like, it was like watching this series of beautiful movies. And I'm so grateful. Anyways, for those that, haven't seen the films yet, tell us a little brief synopsis of what you were creating.
Yeah, so Take One Thing Off is a musical digital series. It's kind of a millennial existential crisis, song into sketch. So it's 11 vignettes and 11 music videos that all weave together for a narrative. That's all about my transition. Loosely, it's vignettes. So it's all about from being a cabaret singer in New York to being to making digital content, which was a huge change for me. And so this series, Take One Thing Off, was the name of my first album that I did with a little label in Los Angeles called Blue Line. They gave me a little bit of money for music videos, and I was like, counterpoint, I'm gonna ruin my life for a while. No, it was such a gift. It was just so much love, sweat, and tears went into it. And we started releasing our second season, which is totally different. We had our first video came out last month for Pride, and then we have our next video coming out on the 14th of July, and then another video after that in August. So yeah, slowly, still making them, but yeah.
Wow, it was so good. I'm so glad that we got to share 3 of them at our film festival, and like what a story like they were telling us. It was quite fantastic. But I was just so amazed by like the creativeness behind the work.
Okay.
It was just brilliant. Like, it gave me so much more than the average music video, so to speak, as well. I think you have such a wonderful style, but where did the inspiration come for you in the kind of stylistic of the project, and how do you even form creating stories for alongside your music?
Yeah, it's hard, and I think for me, I like having that many restrictions. Budget is a huge restriction, and you kind of learn to make it a gift, because sometimes when things get a little cushy, so for example, and Take One Thing Off, every video had like no budget. So you're always kind of going like, okay, what can we do? And that's part of what made every video so different, is we're trying to like create something totally new out of nothing. So we're trying to make every video, this is the video where everything's backwards. This is the video where it's spin the bottle. John Gardner DP the entire series, except for one video, which was shot before, and he did such an incredible job. I also want to say he shot on a Canon C300, which wow. I'm always proud of, because I think like we get camera snobby, but Canon was super great. And then we had like this great tiny little family that would just do, it was kind of like, I'd come up with something, usually we couldn't quite do that, so we did something very close, but the restrictions were a huge gift, but because everybody on the project did a lot of things. So I edited everything. There's a guest director who edited some stuff too. Our colorist directed a couple videos in the second season. So it's a real, like, for the love, for us, by us. Many sleepless nights went into the series.
I honestly, like, it's so funny. Sometimes you can really tell when you've got a really close, tight-knitted family where it just flows so well. And I just kept thinking, I bet your team are amazing. Like, I just kept thinking, and everything from the colorist, like you could even tell just how the production design, everything was just like perfected in a way. Did you, because obviously when you've got a a song to share as well. Like, you know, how do you, I mean, because I think for anyone that's like an artist and turn it into a video, like how do you, I mean, you know, how do you go about creating your artistic vision? Is it something that's connected with the words that you write to a script? How does that work for you?
So on this season, we had a lot of liberty because there is a linear plot, but it's very light. The second season, there is a linear plot, and that was much more of a challenge because you're kind of like trying to, it's hard. For this one though, every video is kind of its own rabbit hole. So once you know, say you want to do a backwards video, you kind of watch everything there has ever been made backwards and like pick your favorites and then try to like weave it together. So for this one, I knew what every video was meant to represent. And then, yeah, and every video is just, yeah, kind of its own rabbit hole. The family was super great, but we hadn't worked together before this project. None of it. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It just seemed to, it just looked like you guys have worked obviously really hard together. But anyways, let's talk about the backwards video, because I was like, my mouth was open. Like I was shell shocked how great it was. Like it was so good. Like I don't even think I've ever seen one that is just the detail, you know, the detail was just brilliant. And I watched it a few times because I found it so enjoyable to watch, even though I was not happy what happened to you. It was very sad. But, you know, it was a great visual to watch. How did you feel about that? Because I thought it was amazing.
So there were two other directors on Take One Thing Off who each did 2 music videos, and that is one of them. Bruce Allen directed it. So I came to him with like a story, what I wanted to do, and then you see a lot of his coloring throughout. One thing I love about working indie is we just always joke about how non-union it is because we're all constantly like crossing lines. So I get really kooky on production design and like I get really, how do we do that? And then it was a lot of writing backwards. The 2 Brunchettes are both people we know who we knew did fight choreography or did gymnast. They're both stunt people as well as really talented actors. So yeah, and then Bruce put it together and we shot it for 2 days in a park. We didn't have a permit and it was like totally wild shoot. It was also, I tend to write, I call it full contact acting, like stunts for myself. And there's one time I'm like falling off the jungle gym thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's safe, but it's not, it's scary. So like, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be fine, blah, blah. And then they're like, action, and you're like, oh, no. Okay. So yeah, that was a good one.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm glad that you were okay after the stunts that you put yourself into. My goodness, but it was very powerful to watch, and you know, and particularly like, you know, actually, and also there was some very important, like, you know, story points with the essence of comedy in there as well. Like, you know, in the 3rd episode, because goodness me, being part of the community, and you know, you've heard all that before, these comments that get. And you're just like, goodness me, really? Like, you know, it's kind of frustrating. And I'm just saying for you personally, like, you know, I think it was such an important sort of references to make, because unfortunately, this is what people in the LGBT+ community face every single day by stupid people with, you know, lack of brain sense, really, essentially. Was that kind of something that was important in the context of your work that you kind of wanted to put out there? Obviously with an element of, you know, comedy, but, you know, was that something important to you too?
Yeah, the original album, Take One Thing Off, was like half stand-up, half music songs. So when I started performing the show live, it was just much more compelling when it had like a narrative. So a lot of that stuff comes from stand-up. So a lot of that episode and a couple others are just like actualized stand-up bits of mine. And Matt McCarthy was such a gem in that. He's the lesbian. Yeah. And it was like, he's just such a great guy. And we shot behind Meltdown. So it was like, yeah, it was just all super community. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I think for me being a queer person, it's always a part of everything, and you try not to make it the thing of everything, because then we'd all be telling the same story, and we're not. But yeah, I'm never gonna.
I know, I appreciate the context, because I was like, you know what, it's like, just get over yourself, you know what I mean? Like, it was just nice, you know. I really actually appreciated the response, and just sort of it felt like you were just like, yeah, chill up, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. It was really, really nice, and I love that element too as well. Like, listen, this is a really big question, because I'm sure there are a lot of elements, but you know, there's a lot that went into this, obviously making this. What was the biggest challenge that you kind of faced doing it?
The whole thing was like, when I was like, this is what I want to do with his money, everyone was like, that's impossible. And I was like, no way. It was impossible. And I think one of the biggest gifts was my naivete, because I went into this going, we got this. And so every day we would have these impossible days and somehow we just pull it off. So I think the biggest challenge was honestly the breadth of it. We never were working on one video. It was like we were editing, and then when we started releasing them, it was like this treadmill like you couldn't get off of. And that was like, it was just hard to keep sane during it. And full blown, I didn't. I mean, there's like a chunk towards the end. We weren't still filming, but I was like, ah, because it's like was just coming out, and like my producer Casey's pulling stills, and so the breadth of it was really, really hard, but I think really rewarding in the end. And kind of the irony of it is when we finished it, my label was like, great, you're a musician, we need another album. And I was like, well, I'm not doing an album, let's do a visual. And they were like, please don't. And I was like, I'm gonna. So doing it back to back, I think was a bit unwise, but it made me really value the magic that was Take One Thing Off, because it was an impossible task. I mean, the average cost of one of the vignettes was $500. What? Yeah, and then the videos could cost as much as like 25, but it's a lot of fuzzy math, but is that right? 15 maybe. I don't remember, but it was just these insanely low numbers that I mean, I would never do it again. I'll say that I did do it again, and it was much harder the second time.
Oh, I mean, well, I'm just, you know, listen, I think I love this series, and I'm a bit blown away by how many multi-talented elements that you actually have. Like, I mean, you know, you sing, you stand up, you know, you edit, you act. Like, I'm like, whoa, this is a lot. Like, this is incredible. But I mean, obviously having all of those, you know, roles as part of, you know, your art. What do you want the audience to take from your series? Like, what do you kind of want to give to your fans and to your, you know, to people out there?
I think it really is for me a sense of like, this was like, it was like no network, no notes. So for me, it was, I think, a rare opportunity to get to like do whatever I wanted, it's almost harder than getting to do whatever you're told to do, because there was no sense of getting it right. I think for me, what the gift of Take One Thing Off is that it's everything and also nothing. Like, it's not a TV show, it's a digital series. It speaks directly to the digital form. It's not a musical. So, I think for me, it's like very much don't compromise and be a little bit dumb about what you try to make. But everyone's like, make stuff, you gotta just make stuff, shoot it on your iPhone. I'm not of that ilk. I think when you commit to make something and you're asking your friends to help and you're asking coworkers to help, like, come at them ready to shoot something for real. And know that, I mean, Take One Thing Off took an insane amount of time. At one point I was like sleeping in splits so I could like I work as a comedian, right? So I'd like have it, you know, go to comedy shows and like edit from like, I don't know, like midnight to like 5 in the morning, sleep a little bit, have my day, nap, go do shows. So like when you make something, love it that much, because otherwise you're going to be talking to a camera and going, you know, why am I not famous? And like the end goal is the end goal is making the thing. And I've been lucky that like I've had a career that let me do that.
Yeah.
But I guess, did I answer the question?
These you've got to live and breathe it, and that is true, and you can tell the hard work that you put into it. What's it been like? Because you can't not watch your series, you can't not watch it without having a smile on your face. Like, it really, I loved it. I've watched, I've watched it repeatedly again as well, because it just makes me smile. But like, what's the experience been like, sharing it at a film festival with us at New Filmmakers, and how's it been? How's the reaction been for you?
The reaction's been really great. I think we have like a really strong, like tight following, and it's all because it is so much like just what I do. I guess we have a live show now that we do every month in LA. We used to do, it'll come back. So it does feel a little bit like, just by kind of going, you know what, I'm going to do this. Now there's a whole little tiny little multiverse world that is doing that.
Yeah.
Which has been really cool to watch Take One Thing Off be such a part of it.
Yeah. what is so obviously there's a little bit of pressure of doing another album right now. What's next for you?
Yeah. So we went just straight into, we're not calling it a second season because it's actually a single feature length narrative. It's not, we think it's not going to be released episodically, the second season. The videos, however, are rolling out independently. So right now we're in the process of releasing a huge series of music videos about once a month. They kind of all vary. And then at the end of it, there will be a feature length narrative. And then at the same time, I have a show in development with Freeform, who, it's a cool moment to be queer, to be a woman, to be anything that's sort of not straight down the middle. Like I joke that I sold the show because I'm a lesbian, but the reason I hadn't sold the show until now is because I'm a lesbian. So I think you just kind of have to like, for me, I love what I do. I'm never going to stop doing it. Whenever I think about quitting, I think about moving to another city and doing the same thing. So just kind of that mania of it and the like, just never stop has been, the kind of don't stop or you'll die like a shark swimming has been kind of my mantra. And it's led to these huge, like the second season was way harder because we didn't have, we knew how hard it was going to be. So like we were a little bit less like, no problem. It was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do another year of not sleeping. But the videos are so good this year. And they were so great last year too. So yeah, I feel like I've been so lucky in getting to do what I want to do.
Well, I mean, you know, the one thing that I really admire about you, Scout, is that like, I think a lot of people have a lot of trouble like placing, you know, how to put their talents in certain, maybe they feel they've got to do one thing or the other. And I feel like you're just releasing all of your creativity to the world, which I love. And I think it's really great. And you said some really inspiring things, I think, you know, to get people out there and moving them yourself. But do you have anything like in your career thus far that maybe you could share with our audience that you could give in terms of, you know, creating their art and getting themselves over the line? Is there anything that you go by? The first short film, posters over there, the first short film I made, so I was on a series, I was the star of it, I was the lead of a series that just ran for a season, but that for me was like such a game changer because the director of the pilot I really liked, I wrote a short that I really wanted to shoot, and he came on and I was like, okay, I've saved this little amount of money, and he's like, this isn't what it costs, and so it's gonna cost a lot more. So we crowdfunded and blah, blah, blah. But it for me, it was like, that was the culmination of everything. Was like, when I was on a series, I finally had enough money that I could lose some. And I finally had enough like street cred that I could run a big crowdfunding campaign. And from Michael Blyden directed it. He's so talented. And from that, he became like a good buddy and like a peer. And when he signed on to this short film, for me, it made me unable to put myself down or criticize my work because he liked it and I would never criticize his taste. So for me, that's a great example of like, he's a straight white man. He didn't, you know what I mean? And he absolutely like, when I was like, he like grabbed me and was like, get up in the big kid club. Buddy. And he did it. And so now he's a big part of the reason I feel confident directing. Yeah.
So I think like always looking forward and back is really helpful. But I do stand by my thing of like, if you want to be a creator of stuff, it's a lifestyle and I love it. But like, again, the fact that I sold the show is a huge reason of how we got to do the second season, because like I have a work schedule that lets me like take, you know, shoot on the weekends and stuff like that. Yeah. So.
No, well, listen, there's just so much. I love hearing your thoughts and your process. I think I feel it's you're creating magic. It's so great. I love it. Where just to close on, where can they find, if they want to follow the series, where can they go and find the series?
Yeah, the series lives on my YouTube page, which is just YouTube/Scout Durwood. There's a Take One Thing Off playlist. And then now there's a Comedy Electronica playlist that's with the first videos out. But social media is honestly just the best way to stay informed. Everything is just Scout Durwood. You can find everything in one place on my website, scoutdurwood.com. Yeah, socials right now, especially now. I'm like, boy, do I miss this stage, but I guess hop into my DMs.
That's what they say, right? That's what they say these days. Oh my goodness. Well, listen, Scott, I adore your work, and I'm so thankful that you shared with this time with us today. So thank you very, very much. Just keep making more content. We need you. We need you. We need you. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
We need you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, guys. Bye.